Have you ever witnessed someone destroy their entire career in under 20 minutes? Today's story is about a vice president who humiliated what he thought was a problematic cleaning lady, only to discover she was the CEO of the tech company that powered his entire business empire. What happened next sent shockwaves through the corporate world and changed how Fortune 500 companies train their executives forever. This is the story of assumptions, power, and the most expensive mistake in corporate history. Mr. Blackwood, we need you in conference room Alpha immediately. Code red situation. Bethany Morrison's panicked voice crackled through the executive intercom system, cutting through the Monday morning buzz of Pinnacle Investment Group's 52nd floor headquarters. 250 employees looked up from their Bloomberg terminals, their morning lattes suddenly forgotten. In 15 years of working at Pinnacle, Bethany had never used code red for anything less than a catastrophic client emergency or federal investigation. Whatever was happening in Conference Room Alpha was either going to cost the company millions or land someone in handcuffs. Zara Okafor hadn't moved from seat 12 at the mahogany conference table in 18 minutes. Not when Bethany demanded to see her employee credentials. Not when she threatened to call human resources about unauthorized personnel. Not when junior associates started discreetly filming what they assumed would be a standard security removal for their internal Slack channels. She just sat there, fingers dancing across her rose gold MacBook Pro, occasionally glancing at her Hermes Apple Watch, the limited edition model that cost more than most Pinnacle employees made in 2 months. The contradiction was jarring. Bethany had automatically categorized Zara as cleaning staff the moment she'd walked into the executive conference room. But cleaning staff didn't carry $15,000 laptops or wear Swiss luxury timepieces. Ma'am, you are disrupting a critical board presentation. Vice President Blackwood is personally coming to resolve this situation. Zara looked up from her screen and smiled. Not the apologetic, confused smile of someone caught where they shouldn't be. This was the composed, knowing smile of someone who held all the cards and was simply waiting for the other players to reveal their hands. Perfect, Zara said softly. I've been looking forward to meeting Mr. Blackwood. Her iPhone 15 Pro Max buzzed against the conference table. The message preview showed a contact labeled Dr. Amara Okafor, CTO. The text was partially visible. All systems primed for demonstration. Quantum servers online, ready for your signal. Across the expansive trading floor, 24-year-old Isabella Cruz was having her worst Monday of her junior analyst career. She'd spilled coffee on the morning client reports, missed an important phone call from Tokyo, and now she was trapped in a glass conference room watching what appeared to be a workplace discrimination incident unfold in real time. Isabella had been the only Latina hired in Pinnacle's 2024 analyst class. She knew exactly what it felt like to walk into spaces where people questioned your right to exist. Something about the situation in Conference Room Alpha felt deeply wrong. The woman at the conference table didn't look distressed or confused. She looked prepared, like she was waiting for something specific to happen. Isabella pulled out her iPhone and opened TikTok. Her follower count was modest, 3,400 people who followed her corporate life content. But her instincts told her this moment needed documentation. Hey, TikTok family, she whispered, angling her phone to capture the conference room through the glass walls. Something really weird is happening at my job right now. This woman has been sitting in our executive conference room for like 20 minutes, and management is freaking out. But y'all, she doesn't look worried at all. She looks like she's in control. Isabella hit go live. Within 30 seconds, 50 viewers had joined, then 100. Then 300. The comments started flowing immediately. Why are they harassing her? This gives me bad vibes. Something's about to go down. Screen record this girl. Vice President Marcus Blackwood strode through the Pinnacle offices like he owned every inch of Chicago's skyline. In many ways, he did. 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder at one of the Midwest's most prestigious investment firms had given him the kind of confidence that comes from never being questioned, never being wrong, and never facing consequences for his decisions. At 42, Blackwood commanded a $2.3 million annual salary, managed $847 million in client assets, and a corner office with views of Lake Michigan that made visiting clients forget they were paying 2.5% management fees. He was accustomed to problems disappearing with a phone call, a signature, or a carefully worded termination letter.
Sir, that woman has been in the conference room for 35 minutes. She won't provide employee credentials, won't explain how she accessed the executive floor, and won't leave when instructed. I think she might be from a competitor trying to steal client information. Blackwood studied the situation more carefully. The woman was impeccably dressed, a tailored navy blazer that looked custom-made, subtle but expensive jewelry, and an overall presentation that screamed executive-level professional. But she was black, and in Blackwood's 15 years at Pinnacle, he could count the number of black women who'd had legitimate business in the executive conference room on one hand. Has she said anything threatening? Made any demands? No, sir, that's what's so strange. She just keeps working on her computer and checking her watch. When I ask her to leave, she smiles and says she's exactly where she's supposed to be. Isabella's TikTok live stream had reached 800 viewers. The comments were coming faster than she could read them. This is giving me racial profiling vibes. Why can't she just be there for a meeting? Document everything. Call this out, Isabella. Blackwood entered Conference Room Alpha with the swagger of a man who'd never encountered a problem he couldn't solve with authority and intimidation. The room smelled faintly of expensive perfume and the kind of confidence that money couldn't buy. Good morning. I'm Marcus Blackwood, Vice President of Client Relations. I understand there's been some confusion about your access to this space? Zara looked up from her laptop screen, and for a split second, Blackwood felt something he hadn't experienced in years: uncertainty. Her eyes held the kind of calm intelligence that typically belonged to board members, federal investigators, or people who could destroy careers with a single phone call. Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. No confusion on my end. I'm exactly where I need to be. Ma'am, this is Pinnacle Investment Group's executive conference room. It's restricted to senior partners, C-level executives, and their specifically authorized representatives. I'm going to need to see your employee identification and written authorization for being here. I don't have employee identification, Zara replied, returning her attention to her laptop screen. Bethany shot Blackwood a triumphant look, finally confirmation that this woman didn't belong here. Ma'am, if you're not a Pinnacle employee, you're trespassing on private property. I need you to gather your belongings and leave immediately. Zara's fingers paused over her keyboard. She looked up again, this time with a slight smile that made Blackwood's stomach tighten inexplicably. Isabella's phone camera captured every micro-expression as she live-streamed the confrontation to 1,200 increasingly engaged viewers. Ma'am, this isn't about assumptions. This is about security protocols and unauthorized access. You don't have proper credentials, you won't explain how you accessed a restricted floor, and you're refusing to comply with basic corporate security measures. Interesting, Zara said, turning her laptop screen slightly so Blackwood could see it. The display showed what appeared to be complex network architecture diagrams, real-time system monitoring dashboards, and server statistics that meant nothing to him but looked undeniably sophisticated. So your security protocols apply to everyone equally? Of course they do. Really? Because last week your colleague Mr. Harrison brought his golf buddies up here for drinks after the market closed. I don't recall anyone asking them for employee identification. Blackwood's face flushed. How could she possibly know about Harrison's after-hours entertaining? That information wasn't public, wasn't documented, and certainly wasn't something a random trespasser would know. Ma'am, I don't know how you obtain confidential information about our employees' activities, but that doesn't change the fact that you're currently in violation of our security policies. Isabella's TikTok stream exploded past 2,000 viewers. The comments section was moving too fast to follow. She's got REITs. Why does she know their business? This woman is not random. Something big is about to happen. Local Chicago news outlets were sliding into Isabella's DMs asking for permission to use her live stream footage. Hashtag Pinnacle discrimination was starting to trend on Twitter. You know what, Mr. Blackwood, you're absolutely right. Security protocols should apply to everyone equally. Zara opened a new window on her laptop, and even from Blackwood's position, he could see it contained what looked like security footage. Should I pull up the recordings of the 17 times this month that white visitors accessed this floor without proper documentation? Or would you prefer to see the footage of your executives bringing unauthorized guests to confidential client meetings? Blackwood felt the blood drain from his face. How is this woman accessing their internal security systems? Who was she working for? The FBI? The SEC? A competitor? Ma'am, if you're some kind of federal investigator, you need to identify yourself immediately and present proper warrants. I'm not a federal investigator, Mr. Blackwood, but I am someone who understands exactly how your business operates. Every system, every process, every vulnerability. Bethany had gone pale. Sir, should I call the police? She's admitted to hacking our security systems.
Actually, Zara said, closing the laptop with a decisive click, I think you should call your IT department first. Ask them about their service level agreements with their primary technology contractor. Ask them what happens when those contracts are terminated without proper notice. The specificity was terrifying. Blackwood knew that Pinnacle's entire operation depended on their technology infrastructure. Trading systems, client databases, communication networks, security systems, everything ran through their primary IT contractor. If those systems went down during market hours, they could lose millions in minutes. Ma'am, are you threatening to interfere with our business operations? I'm asking if you understand the technology framework that keeps your business running, Mr. Blackwood. Isabella's live stream had reached 3,500 viewers, and major news outlets were now messaging her directly. At ABC7 Chicago, at Chicago Tribune, and at WGN News were all requesting permission to broadcast her stream. The hashtag Pinnacle Confrontation was trending in Chicago, and hashtag corporate discrimination was gaining national traction. Bethany, call security immediately. Blackwood's voice carried a tremor he couldn't quite suppress. This woman knew too much about their operations to be a random intruder, but she was clearly hostile and potentially dangerous. Zara checked her Hermes watch, a gesture that everyone in the room now interpreted as ominous timing. Mr. Blackwood, before those security officers arrive, I think there are some things you should understand about your current situation. What situation? You're trespassing, potentially committing corporate espionage, and threatening our business operations. The only situation here is you being escorted out in handcuffs. This conversation is being documented by multiple devices, Zara said, calmly, gesturing toward Isabella's phone and the security cameras. Your employee has made several statements that could be construed as discriminatory under federal employment law. You've made assumptions about my right to be here based entirely on my appearance, and in approximately 90 seconds, you're going to receive phone calls that will completely change your understanding of this interaction. Blackwood's hands were starting to shake. What kind of phone calls? Zara's smile wasn't malicious or threatening. It was the patient, knowing expression of someone who held complete control over an unfolding situation. The kind that explain exactly who you've been talking to, Mr. Blackwood. The kind that make headlines. The kind that end careers and change companies forever. As if orchestrated by some cosmic timing, Blackwood's iPhone began buzzing in his jacket pocket. The screen displayed, Urgent, IT Operations Center.
Simultaneously, Bethany's desktop phone rang with the distinctive triple ring that indicated an emergency call from corporate headquarters. The conference room's video screen automatically activated, displaying an incoming priority video call from Dr. Amara Okafor, Chief Technology Officer, Quantum Dynamics Systems. Isabella's viewer count hit 5,000. The comments were a blur of excitement and anticipation. The phone calls are happening. She predicted this. Who is this woman? This is better than Netflix. Zara leaned back in the conference room chair, her posture radiating calm confidence while chaos erupted around her. 3 different communication devices were demanding immediate attention from Pinnacle's executive team, and everyone in the room understood that the timing wasn't coincidental. Mr. Blackwood, I recommend you answer your phone first, then we'll take the video call from my CTO. Your CTO? Dr. Amara Okafor, Chief Technology Officer at Quantum Dynamics Systems. She's probably calling to discuss some irregularities in your service level agreements. Bethany's face went chalk white. Sir, Quantum Dynamics is our primary IT contractor. They handle all our cloud infrastructure, trading systems, and data security. Isabella's TikTok stream was exploding with viewers sharing the link across social media platforms. The viewer count climbed past 7,000 as people began to understand they were watching something unprecedented unfold in real time. Blackwood's phone continued ringing. The video call screen showed Dr. Okafor waiting patiently, her PhD credentials and executive title prominently displayed. Security officers were visible through the glass walls, approaching the conference room with restraints and serious expressions. You have about 30 seconds to decide how this plays out, Zara said, opening her laptop again. The screen displayed what appeared to be a master control panel for multiple computer systems. You can answer those calls and learn who you're dealing with, or you can have me arrested and explain to your clients why their trading accounts are suddenly inaccessible. Blackwood stared at the laptop screen. Even without technical expertise, he could see system names he recognized. Pinnacle Trading Main, Pinnacle Client Database, Pinnacle Communications, Pinnacle Security. Every critical system that kept their business operational. He whispered. I am the CEO of Quantum Dynamics Systems, Zara said simply. The company that has kept Pinnacle Investment Group running for the past 8 years. The company that processes your trades, protects your client data, and maintains your security systems. The company that your executives have paid over $12 million in service fees. The words hit like lightning strikes. CEO. Quantum Dynamics, their primary contractor. The woman he'd been trying to have arrested controlled every piece of technology that kept Pinnacle functional. And Mr. Blackwood, Zara added, her finger hovering over a prominent red button on her laptop screen. I'm also the woman you just spent 20 minutes discriminating against while 8,000 people watched live. Security officers reached the conference room door just as Blackwood's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID showed Quantum Dynamics Emergency Protocol. Isabella's live stream had become a viral phenomenon. Major news outlets were broadcasting her feed directly. Hashtag Quantum Dynamics CEO was trending nationally. The comment section was moving too fast for human comprehension. She's the CEO of their IT company. They tried to arrest their own contractor. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Screenshot everything. Dr. Amara Okafor's voice came through the conference room speakers as the video call automatically connected. Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. I'm calling regarding some concerning reports about the treatment of our CEO during her scheduled maintenance visit to your facilities. Bethany made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Scheduled maintenance visit. This wasn't trespassing. This was a planned business meeting that they'd somehow forgotten or misunderstood. Your CEO? Blackwood stammered. Zara Okafor, my sister and the founder of Quantum Dynamics Systems. She was conducting routine security assessments of our infrastructure installations when your staff began treating her as an unauthorized intruder. The family connection hit like another thunderbolt. Not only was Zara the CEO of their most critical contractor, but she had family members in key technical positions. The potential for retaliation wasn't just professional, it was personal. Zara stood up slowly, commanding the attention of everyone in the room and the 10,000 people watching Isabella's live stream. Mr. Blackwood, for the past 25 minutes, you've demonstrated exactly why Quantum Dynamics has been documenting discrimination incidents across our corporate client base. She opened another window on her laptop, revealing a comprehensive database titled Corporate Bias Documentation Project 2024. We've recorded 247 similar incidents this year across 89 Fortune 500 companies. Executives making assumptions about women of color in professional spaces. Highly qualified individuals being questioned, challenged, and humiliated based solely on their appearance. Blackwood realized with dawning horror that this hadn't been a random incident. It had been a planned test, and he'd failed spectacularly while the entire world watched. This was intentional? He whispered. The test was intentional, Mr. Blackwood. Your response was entirely your choice. Dr. Amara Okafor's voice continued through the speakers. Mr. Blackwood, as of this moment, Quantum Dynamics is reviewing our service agreements with Pinnacle Investment Group. We'll be conducting a full audit of your company's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion as outlined in our contractor ethics clauses. Isabella's viewer count had reached 15,000. News trucks were visible through the office windows, already arriving at Pinnacle's building. Social media was exploding with shares, reactions, and calls for corporate accountability. Zara pulled up another screen showing real-time news coverage. Breaking, tech CEO documents discrimination at major investment firm, scrolled across CNN's news ticker. Viral video shows corporate bias in real time, was trending on every major platform. Mr. Blackwood, Zara said, I want you to understand the full scope of what just happened here. In the past 30 minutes, you've discriminated against the CEO of your most critical technology partner, while thousands of people documented every word. You've exposed your company to potential contract termination, federal discrimination investigations, and the kind of public relations nightmare that destroys careers. Bethany was hyperventilating. The security officers had stopped outside the conference room door, clearly receiving new instructions through their radios. Other Pinnacle executives were gathering in the hallway, their faces reflecting the growing understanding that something catastrophic was unfolding. Furthermore, Zara continued, this incident is now part of a federal research study on workplace discrimination that Quantum Dynamics is conducting in partnership with the Department of Labor and the EEOC. Your responses will be analyzed, published, and used to develop new anti-discrimination training protocols for the financial services industry. Blackwood felt his knees weaken. Federal research study. Department of Labor, EEOC. This wasn't just a business relationship going bad. This was a career-ending, industry-changing catastrophe. What do you want from us? He asked, his voice barely audible. Zara smiled again, but this time there was something that might have been compassion in her expression. I want you to learn, Mr. Blackwood. I want your company to become an example of how organizations can change, grow, and do better. But first, I want you to understand that the woman you tried to have arrested controls every computer system that keeps your business alive. As if to emphasize her point, every screen in the Pinnacle offices suddenly displayed the same message. System maintenance notification.
Quantum Dynamics Systems. All operations temporarily under manual oversight for bias assessment protocols. Trading terminals went dark. Communication systems showed limited access warnings. Client databases displayed temporarily restricted notices. Isabella's live stream reached 20,000 viewers as people realized they were watching a tech CEO demonstrate her complete control over a major financial firm's infrastructure. The comments were a blur of amazement and vindication. "She controls their entire business. This is the most incredible thing ever. They messed with the wrong woman. Justice in real time." Zara stood at the head of the conference table, laptop open, fingers poised over controls that could either restore Pinnacle systems or shut them down completely. The power dynamic had shifted so completely that the security officers were now looking to her for permission to enter the room. "Mr. Blackwood," she said softly, "tomorrow morning, Quantum Dynamics will announce the launch of our Corporate Equity Initiative, a program that helps companies identify and eliminate discriminatory practices in their workplace culture. Pinnacle Investment Group is going to be our first case study." Blackwood realized that his entire career, his company's reputation, and the jobs of hundreds of employees were now in the hands of the woman he'd spent half an hour trying to humiliate. "What happens now?" he whispered. Zara looked at her watch one final time. "Now, Mr. Blackwood, you get to choose. Easy way or hard way? Transform your company culture and become a leader in corporate equity, or fight us and watch your business collapse while the world documents every mistake." She gestured toward Isabella's phone, still live streaming to an audience that had grown beyond 25,000 viewers. "But remember, the whole world is watching. Whatever you decide, there's no hiding from the consequences anymore." The conference room fell silent except for the soft humming of Zara's laptop and the distant sound of news helicopters circling the building. Marcus Blackwood thought he was removing a problematic cleaning lady from his executive conference room. Instead, he'd just discriminated against the CEO of the tech company that controlled every system keeping his business alive. With 25,000 people watching live, Zara Okafor was about to demonstrate exactly what happens when assumptions meet consequences. Marcus Blackwood's hands trembled as he stared at his buzzing iPhone. The caller ID displayed "Quantum Dynamics Emergency Protocol" in red letters that seemed to pulse with his accelerating heartbeat. Through the conference room's glass walls, he could see the entire Pinnacle trading floor had gone eerily quiet. 250 employees were staring at their darkened screens, watching the unfolding drama that was being broadcast live to over 30,000 viewers on Isabella Cruz's TikTok stream. "Answer it," Zara said softly, her fingers still hovering over the laptop keyboard that controlled Pinnacle's entire technological infrastructure. Blackwood accepted the call with a shaking thumb. "This is Marcus Blackwood." "Mr. Blackwood, this is James Morrison, Senior Vice President of Client Relations at Quantum Dynamics." The voice was crisp, professional, and carried the unmistakable tone of someone delivering catastrophic news. The words hit Blackwood like physical blows. CEO. Their CEO. The woman he'd spent 30 minutes trying to humiliate was the founder and chief executive of the company that Pinnacle paid $1.6 million annually to keep operational. "Mr. Blackwood, there's been a misunderstanding." "Mr. Blackwood," Morrison interrupted, "we have live footage of your staff discriminating against Mrs. Okafor while she conducted a scheduled infrastructure assessment. The footage is currently being viewed by tens of thousands of people and has been picked up by major news outlets." Isabella's viewer count had exploded past 35,000. Comments flooded the screen faster than human eyes could follow. "She's their CEO. He's so fired. This is insane. Screen recording everything. CNN is here." Bethany Morrison sank into a chair, finally understanding the magnitude of their mistake. The woman they'd been treating as a security threat was not only their primary technology contractor's CEO, but she was conducting legitimate business that Pinnacle presumably authorized. Furthermore,
James Morrison continued over the speakerphone. Mrs. O'Coffer was documenting discriminatory practices as part of a federal research initiative sponsored by the Department of Labor. Your responses have been recorded and will be included in a comprehensive study on workplace bias in Fortune 500 companies. Federal Research Initiative, Department of Labor. The implications crashed over Blackwood like a tsunami. This wasn't just a business relationship going bad. This was a federal case study in corporate discrimination, and he was the primary subject.
Dr. Amara Okafor's voice cut through the chaos as the video conference system activated automatically. Her credentials appeared on screen. PhD in computer science from MIT, former Google senior engineer, current CTO of Quantum Dynamics Systems. The family resemblance to Zara was unmistakable. "Good morning, Mr. Blackwood. I'm Dr. Amara Okafor, and I believe you've been acquainted with my sister." Sister. The word added another layer of complexity to an already impossible situation. Blackwood wasn't just dealing with a business relationship, he was facing a family operation with deep technical expertise and apparent federal connections. "Dr. Okafor, if I could explain." "Mr. Blackwood, for the past 45 minutes, my sister has been conducting a scheduled security assessment of the infrastructure we've installed at your facility. She informed your staff multiple times that she was exactly where she needed to be. Instead of verifying her credentials or checking your own scheduled appointments, your team assumed she was an unauthorized intruder based solely on her appearance." Isabella's live stream had become a cultural phenomenon. News outlets were broadcasting her feed directly. Hashtag Quantum Dynamics Discrimination was trending globally. Major celebrities were sharing the story. The comment section had become a blur of outrage and vindication. They assumed because she's black. This is 2024 and this still happens. Justice in real time. Make this viral. Furthermore, Dr. Okafor continued, this incident has been documented from multiple angles as part of our corporate bias detection protocol. We've been testing discrimination responses across 127 major corporations this year. Pinnacle Investment Group has just provided us with one of the most comprehensive examples of institutional bias we've recorded. Zara opened another window on her laptop, revealing a sophisticated dashboard titled Corporate Discrimination Analytics Real-Time Data Collection. The screen showed dozens of similar incidents across different companies, with Pinnacle's case highlighted in red as severe, viral documentation, federal implications. "This was all planned?" Blackwood whispered. "The assessment was planned," Zara replied calmly. "Your discrimination was entirely your choice." To emphasize her point, Zara's fingers moved across her keyboard with surgical precision. Every screen in the Pinnacle offices flickered simultaneously, then displayed a unified message. Quantum Dynamics Systems, Infrastructure Demonstration. All trading systems, databases, communication networks, and security protocols are currently under direct oversight. This demonstration illustrates the complete technological dependence of Pinnacle Investment Group on quantum dynamics services. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Trading terminals that processed millions of dollars in daily transactions showed manual override active. Client databases that contained sensitive financial information displayed access restricted, CEO authorization required. Communication systems that connected Pinnacle to global markets showed temporarily limited bias assessment protocol. Isabella's viewer count hit 50,000 as people realized they were watching a tech CEO demonstrate complete control over a major financial firm's infrastructure in real time. Major news outlets were now broadcasting her stream directly on television. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox Business all had breaking news banners running the story. "Jesus Christ," Blackwood muttered, staring at the screens around him. "You could destroy us." "I could," Zara agreed. "But destruction isn't the goal here, Mr. Blackwood. Education is." She pulled up another screen showing Pinnacle's complete technological dependency analysis. 847 critical business processes, 23 million client records, $2.3 billion in daily transaction volume, all flowing through quantum dynamics systems.
The numbers were staggering. Blackwood had never realized how completely dependent Pinnacle was on their technology contractor. If I terminated our service agreement right now, Pinnacle Investment Group would be completely non-functional within 4 minutes. No trading capability, no client communication, no data access, no security monitoring. Your $2.3 billion in daily volume would simply stop. Security officers had gathered outside the conference room, but they were now looking to Zara for permission to enter. The power dynamic had shifted so completely that Pinnacle's own security team recognized her authority over their building systems. Isabella's phone was burning hot from the processing demand of her viral livestream. She'd gained 15,000 followers in the past hour. Major news outlets, celebrities, and social justice advocates were sharing her feed. Hashtag Pinnacle discrimination, hashtag quantum dynamics, and hashtag corporate bias were all trending globally. Y'all, this is the most insane thing I've ever witnessed. This woman just demonstrated that she controls every computer in our building, every single system, and they tried to have her arrested for sitting in a conference room.
The comments were a blur of amazement and calls for justice. She's showing them who has the power. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Every executive needs to see this. Screenshot everything for evidence. Through the office windows, news vans were lining up outside Pinnacle's building. Helicopters circled overhead. The story had exploded beyond social media into mainstream news coverage. Zara's phone buzzed with incoming calls from major news outlets: CNN, MSNBC, The Wall Street Journal, Fortune magazine, The New York Times. Each wanted exclusive interviews about the incident. "Mr. Blackwood," Zara said, "in the next 10 minutes, you're going to receive calls from every major news outlet in America. They're going to ask you to explain why Pinnacle Investment Group's vice president spent an hour discriminating against a black woman while 60,000 people watched live." Blackwood's own phone started buzzing. The first call was from Pinnacle's CEO, the second from their legal department, the third from their public relations firm. Each call would bring worse news than the last. "Ma'am, what do you want from us?" Blackwood asked, his voice cracking. Zara closed her laptop and stood up, commanding the attention of everyone in the room and the 70,000 people watching Isabella's stream. "I want you to understand that this wasn't random, Mr. Blackwood. This was the 247th discrimination test we've conducted this year. We've documented bias at 89 Fortune 500 companies. We've recorded executives making assumptions about women of color in professional spaces. We've captured the moment when qualified individuals are questioned, challenged, and humiliated based solely on their appearance." Dr. Amara Okafor's voice returned through the video conference system. "Mr. Blackwood, I need to inform you that this incident is now part of a formal federal research study. The Department of Labor, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission are all reviewing our documentation of discriminatory practices in corporate America." Federal agencies. The words hit Blackwood like lightning strikes. This wasn't just a viral video anymore. This was a federal case study that could trigger investigations, lawsuits, and regulatory action. Furthermore, Dr. Okafor continued, Quantum Dynamics has been working with federal legislators to draft new anti-discrimination requirements for government contractors. Your incident will be presented as evidence supporting the need for mandatory bias training and accountability measures. Zara pulled up another screen showing a document titled The Corporate Accountability Act of 2024, Supporting Evidence, Case Study, Pinnacle Investment Group. Your discrimination, Mr. Blackwood, is about to become the foundation for federal legislation that requires every government contractor to implement comprehensive anti-bias training and monitoring systems. Isabella's live stream had reached 80,000 viewers. The story was being covered live on every major news network.
Social media was exploding with shares, reactions, and calls for corporate accountability. Bethany Morrison was hyperventilating. "Sir, this is going to destroy the company. Our clients will leave. Our reputation will be ruined. How do we fix this?" Zara looked at both of them with something that might have been compassion. "You fix it by learning, growing, and becoming an example of how companies can change. But first, you need to understand that the woman you tried to humiliate controls the technology that keeps your business alive. And 100,000 people just watched you learn that lesson in real time." Blackwood's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID showed Richard Steinberg, CEO, Pinnacle Investment Group, his boss, the man who controlled his career, his salary, and his future. "Marcus, what the hell is happening? I'm getting calls from the Wall Street Journal, CNN, and our biggest clients. They're saying we discriminated against our most critical vendor while it was being live-streamed." "Sir, there's been a situation." "A situation? Marcus, I'm watching the live feed right now. 90,000 people are watching you try to have our most critical vendor arrested. Do you understand what you've done?" Zara gestured for Blackwood to put the call on speaker. "Mr. Steinberg, this is Zara Okafor, CEO of Quantum Dynamics. I think we need to discuss the future of our business relationship." "Mrs. Okafor, I am deeply sorry for this incident. Marcus was clearly acting without proper information or authorization. Please tell me how we can make this right." "Mr. Steinberg, this incident is now part of a federal research study on corporate discrimination. The footage will be used to train executives across America on the consequences of bias. Your company is about to become the primary case study in how assumptions can destroy business relationships." Isabella's viewer count hit 100,000. The comments were moving too fast to read, but the energy was electric. Everyone understood they were witnessing a historic moment in corporate accountability. "Furthermore," Zara continued, "Quantum Dynamics is announcing a new corporate equity initiative tomorrow morning. We're implementing mandatory bias assessments for all our corporate clients. Companies that fail our discrimination audits will lose their technology contracts." The implications were staggering. Quantum Dynamics provided technology services to 127 Fortune 500 companies. If they implemented mandatory bias assessments, it would force corporate America to confront its discrimination problems or lose critical technology support. Bethany Morrison enrolled in a master's program in diversity and inclusion leadership. Her transformation from discriminatory gatekeeper to equity advocate would become another powerful component of the story. 1 year later, the Pinnacle Protocol had been implemented by over 300 Fortune 500 companies. The incident had sparked a revolution in corporate accountability that changed how businesses approached diversity, equity, and inclusion. Zara Okafor was named to Time magazine's 100 Most Influential People list. Quantum Dynamics' stock price tripled as companies competed to work with the firm that had demonstrated the business case for corporate equity. Isabella Cruz launched her own media company focused on documenting social justice moments. Her original live stream had been viewed over 10 million times and was featured in the Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History and Culture. The Congressional Black Caucus invited Zara to testify before Congress about corporate discrimination. Her testimony led to the passage of the Corporate Accountability Act of 2025, requiring all federal contractors to implement bias monitoring and training systems. Marcus Blackwood's speaking engagements had reached over 100,000 corporate executives. His story of transformation from unconscious bias to conscious advocacy inspired companies to examine their own practices and implement meaningful change. Pinnacle Investment Group became the first financial services firm to achieve zero discrimination certification from the Federal Trade Commission. Their client base actually grew as investors sought out companies with demonstrated commitments to equity and inclusion. Zara Okafor stood before the United Nations General Assembly, addressing world leaders about the global impact of corporate discrimination and the power of technology to create accountability. The incident at Pinnacle Investment Group wasn't unique, she told the Assembly. It was simply the first time that someone with the power to respond was in the room when discrimination happened. Every day, in companies around the world, people are questioned, challenged, and humiliated based on their appearance. The difference was that this time, someone had the technological leverage to demand change. The live stream footage from Isabella's phone was now used in corporate training programs in 47 countries. The story had become a global case study in how individual actions can create systemic change when amplified by technology and social media. Change doesn't happen when we ignore discrimination. Change happens when we document it, share it, and refuse to accept it as normal. Every phone camera is a tool for justice. Every social media platform is a venue for accountability. Every viral moment is an opportunity to transform society. The audience gave her a standing ovation. But the real victory wasn't the applause. It was the thousands of messages she received from people around the world who had found the courage to speak up, document injustice, and demand better treatment in their own workplaces. 5 years later, the Pinnacle effect had transformed corporate America. Companies competed to demonstrate their commitment to equity and inclusion. Discrimination incidents dropped by 78% in Fortune 500 companies that implemented the quantum dynamics protocols. Isabella Cruz's media company had documented over 1,000 similar incidents, each one leading to corporate policy changes and cultural transformation. Her original live stream was studied in universities worldwide as an example of how social media could create immediate accountability for discriminatory behavior. Marcus Blackwood had spoken to over 500,000 executives across 6 continents. His transformation from unconscious bias to conscious advocacy had inspired countless leaders to examine their own assumptions and implement meaningful change in their organizations. The Corporate Accountability Act had been adopted by 23 countries, creating global standards for workplace equity and inclusion. Companies that failed bias assessments faced immediate consequences, creating powerful incentives for cultural transformation. But perhaps the most important change was cultural. The story had shifted public consciousness about the reality of workplace discrimination and the power of technology to create immediate consequences for biased behavior. Today, whenever someone witnesses discrimination, they think of Zara Okafor's calm confidence, Isabella Cruz's brave documentation, and Marcus Blackwood's transformation. They remember that change is possible, accountability is achievable, and justice can be live-streamed. The revolution wasn't just about one incident in one conference room. It was about proving that ordinary people with smartphones and courage could hold powerful institutions accountable and create extraordinary change. And it all started with a woman sitting calmly in a conference room, knowing exactly who she was and refusing to be diminished by other people's assumptions. This story shows us that change is possible when we refuse to accept discrimination as normal. Every time you witness bias, you have a choice. Document it, share it, and demand accountability. The next Zara Okafor might be you. The next Isabella Cruz might be your colleague. The next Marcus Blackwood might be someone ready to learn and grow. Share this story with someone who needs to understand that assumptions have consequences. Subscribe if you believe that justice can be live-streamed and change can happen in real time. The revolution continues with every phone camera, every social media post, and every person who refuses to stay silent when they witness injustice. What discrimination will you document today? What change will you create tomorrow? The world is watching. Make it count.